Most of us want a little more performance out of our Crown Vic. The 4-speed automatic that comes standard in them is great for just regular driving, daily driver duties. You know, it's super easy, throw it and drive and go. But a lot of us want some more performance. So one thought is to put in 5-speed manual. It gives you a little more aggressive first gear, gets you off the line a little better, plus it gives you the control of which gear you're in, so you can kind of anticipate if you're going up a hill or whatever, you can select your gear accordingly. It also allows you to aggressively hit your cornering. You can throw it into second right as you hit the corner and then pop out of the corner real aggressively. Something you can't really do with the standard automatic transmission. The problem with doing a manual swap is it's a lot of work. And most of us don't have the tools or the patience to do it, and quite frankly don't want to spend the money to have somebody else do it, which is probably why you're watching my channel, which is a DIY channel. I always laugh when I get comments from folks saying, well, you know, you could take that to the dealer and get that done. And I think, yeah, but that's not the point of the channel. Another option a lot of people look at is switching out the rear gear for something more aggressive like a 373 or 410, which does accomplish the get up and go off the line that most of us are looking for, but it's also a trade-off in the top end. You're going to rev your engine harder and get a little bit less gas mileage. Another alternative is throwing in a 6-speed transmission, such as what comes in the F-150s and Tauruses and Explorers of the time period, and that is doable, but again, it's going to require some tools and some knowledge, or paying somebody to do it, and even then you may have some hiccups that you have to deal with as far as getting everything working properly. So perhaps the greatest compromise is doing this Canshift, which is probably less than 5-minute installation and gives you the ability to shift gears manually like you would have in a stick shift, but also the convenience of leaving it in drive and just letting the transmission shift itself if you're stuck in traffic or you're just commuting and you don't really care. This is a great way to get yourself a little bit better performance and a little more control over your vehicle without spending a lot of money or having to do a complicated install. The installation is literally this simple. You plug this into your OBDII port, find a place to mount this, wipe down your steering wheel with the included alcohol prep packs, and mount these to the steering wheel. You see they already have the 3M tape on the back, and these are your up and down shifters. Don't forget to put the battery in. Literally the hardest part of this install is probably going to be deciding where you want this ultimately to be mounted. I've seen people put them in several places, so we're going to kind of look around the car and see what would probably be the best for me. Plug it in right up here, and that is done. The shifters use a real common 2032 battery, easy to find. You can find them on Amazon or wherever, and they generally last a pretty long time from my experience with these batteries. Before I mount these, I'm going to test them because I want to probably have them mounted with plus on the right side and minus on the left side. And then I've seen people put this here or wherever. The nice thing is the cord is quite long, so it's reaching up to the A-pillar and the roof line even, so if I wanted to, I could probably fish this up through the A-pillar and hang it up on the top there. For me, I'm thinking that probably right below the PRND indicator would be a good place for this, just since that's where the eyes are typically looking for gears. I'm not going to permanently mount it yet. I'll mount this in here for temporary purposes. You can see it's showing the P. Back up a little bit, showing the R. showing what gear it's in. It's in first gear, but I've got the transmission in drive. So the plus is for the battery, so it's going to be small side up. In drive, should be able to activate by pressing both of them. And then we have a gear here. You see, I can shift. It won't let you. Like if you press it down, it just stays in 1, and if you press the up past 4, it just stays in 4. Still able to shift into reverse up here. Let's see if it stayed. Yeah, so it stayed in these. Figuring out there's really realistically only one place you don't put these, which would be on the back sides of the steering wheel, so that you can hit these as you're driving, kind of in a 330 and 830 position on the steering wheel. I'm thinking basically something like that and that, and I'll look at the back of the steering wheel and try to figure out where up, down, and around would make the most sense for me. And I click that, even though this is not even on, it still senses it, so that's interesting. The one nice feature is if you can mount it flush on here or flush on here. This cord actually will rotate out of the way no matter which way you do that, so that's kind of nice. One thing not included is any kind of mounting bracket for this, so you're going to have to decide how you want to mount it and do it yourself. As far as being out of the way, somewhere in this vicinity is probably a good spot. I was hoping to put it up in here, but then if I do, you see it's going to block at least partially the view of when I'm driving, and I mean, even if it's stuck down, and if I put it up there, it's still blocking. So putting it over here would be another place where it's out of the way, and this cable obviously can fish behind all of this trim, so it's, even though I've just got it loose right now, I'll end up fishing it so it's out of the way. But you see, you have enough cable to even put it all the way up here. You could put it up there. You could probably even put it on that A-pillar. Again, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for the driver, but it would definitely not be in the way. I guess the other place you could possibly put it, attach it to there somehow. If you don't want these in, you just slide them out of there. It's not really a one-handed job, but I'm holding the camera. So you can decide if you like having those or you want just basically the button on the back of the steering wheel. Either way. And I'm pretty sure once they're mounted, you can still slide that in and out of there without taking it off the steering wheel. But that's how easy those mount. I'm going to use a separate pad for each side just to make sure we get the best adhesion. So thoroughly clean that. You can see how much dirt came off of there. And I keep my steering wheel clean, so that's embarrassing. Again, line it up visually. Just gonna adhere it. Held it for about 30 seconds. And attach the other one the same way. So take clean alcohol. this down very thoroughly. I tend to drive more with my hands in like a 4 and 8 or 5 and 7 position rather than the old school 9 and 3 or 10 and 2 that was taught when I was in driver's ed. So I'll probably drive it like this and have my finger to be able to click there rather than being up here and clicking this way. You can see that the plug is just a little bit too big to go through there. So if you're willing to cut, you can run it through there. If you don't want to cut, like I'm probably going to do this as a giveaway, so I'm not going to cut anything in my car, but you can fish it through here, drop it down, run it underneath there and over to the OBD port. And if you wanted to be super professional, you could unbolt these and try to tuck this cord up behind there. A little bit of patience in wrestling, you can get that to drop all the way through, and then just basically run it back under there and plug it into the OBD, and then you can tuck the excess wires behind there and then route it behind whatever you want. It will hide away quite nicely like that. So this is what I was talking about. If you pull those 7mm bolts, you can fish that wire up behind, and then it's out of the way, and it makes it look a little bit more professional without a whole lot of extra work. So I opted to do that, just even though this is a temporary install. So basically 3 bolts, and then I can have the cord come out kind of behind the steering wheel over there. I think this came out really good for a temporary install. Obviously if you were permanently mounting this, you probably wouldn't do it with a zip tie. But it's nonetheless an effective mount, and it won't destroy anything. It'll hold it pretty secure there. From the driver standpoint, that's about the view you're going to have. And so I think it's this one shows the actual gear that the car is in, and then when you're in Canshift mode, this will show the gear that you've selected. And the reason there's 2 is because you may shift into second, but there's a delay before it shifts into second and third and so on, or back down as well. Now I haven't tried to do anything stupid like put it in 4th gear from a stop and see what it does, but I have a feeling that it's gonna make it go into 1st when you're stopped rather than let you tear up your transmission. So just routed the cord back behind there, like I said, put those bolts back in, and then had a little bit of spare cord there just wrapped up in there. When I push this trim piece back on, you won't see any of that. Only part that will be visible is just what's underneath there. So you see now it's a clean install. The wires are not visible.